Welcome back to YouTube channel, where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, and where stories of hidden treasures come alive. Today, we dive deep into the mesmerizing tale of a single coin, a 2013 quarter dollar. At first glance, it might seem like any other coin you'd find in the bottom of a drawer or under the cushion of a well-worn couch. But what if I told you that one of these coins is worth an unbelievable $839 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not 800. Not 8,000. $839 million. The kind of money that could change not only your life but the lives of generations to come. But the real story, how it came to be worth that kind of money, is something straight out of a blockbuster movie. It all began with a man named Elliot Travers, a coin enthusiast from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Elliot was a retired history professor, a man of quiet demeanor and deep curiosity. After retirement, instead of spending his time and leisure, he dove headfirst into his lifelong passion, numismatics. He had a small, cluttered office in his Adobe-style home filled with coin albums, magnifying glasses, reference books, and a safe tucked behind a bookshelf. But none of these would come close to the discovery he was about to make. One sunny afternoon in early April 2023, Elliot visited a local flea market. It wasn't an unusual trip. He often scanned stalls for overlooked treasures. On this particular day, a small wooden box caught his eye. Inside were dozens of coins, most of them common and worn. But among them lay a single 2013 quarter dollar. Nothing fancy, nothing screaming for attention. Just a clean-looking coin. He noticed something odd about the edge. It had a strange shimmer to it, something he hadn't seen before. He bought the entire box for $15 and took it home. That evening, he sat at his desk, sorting the coins. When he came back to that quarter, something compelled him to examine it closer. Under his microscope, he found a series of micro-etchings on the coin's surface, almost invisible to the naked eye. The design was a standard Mount Rushmore depiction, part of the America the Beautiful series, but embedded in the shadows of the carved rock faces were tiny patterns. So small, even some of his high-grade tools struggled to capture them clearly. His curiosity piqued. Elliot reached out to a trusted contact in the numismatic world, a woman named Clara Mendez, a forensic coin analyst based in Denver. Clara had previously worked for the U.S. Mint before becoming a private consultant. When she received images and detailed notes from Elliot, her reaction was immediate. She asked to examine the coin in person. Within 48 hours, Elliot boarded a train to Denver, carefully transporting the coin in a padded leather case. Clara was stunned. The coin was genuine, of course. A 2013 Denver minted quarter, part of the standard issue. But the micro-etchings were something else entirely. She spent days running tests and comparing it to others in circulation. That's when she discovered a secret layer of chemical properties that responded to very specific UV frequencies. When exposed, an additional set of engravings appeared: coordinates, names, and symbols that didn't belong on any U.S. currency. The implications were staggering. Clara and Elliot decided to remain discreet. They contacted a retired intelligence officer named Max Orwin, who owed Clara a favor from a past case involving counterfeit foreign currency. Max, skeptical at first, agreed to help verify the origin of the engravings. Through his network, he discovered a classified program run during the late 2000s involving secure micro-messaging technology hidden in common objects, including currency. The idea was to embed encrypted information in mundane items, making them virtually undetectable, but this program had supposedly been shut down and destroyed before reaching production. So how did this coin exist? And why had it surfaced now? As the three of them dug deeper, they found references to a lost set of 10 prototype coins produced under extreme secrecy at the Denver Mint in 2012. These coins were designed as proof-of-concept models and were allegedly destroyed after a security breach. One theory emerged: perhaps not all were destroyed. Perhaps one slipped through. The trail led to a former Mint employee named Jacob Reinhardt, who vanished in 2013 under mysterious circumstances. Rumors suggested he had taken one of the prototypes as insurance. If true, Elliot's coin was one of those 10. The story exploded within a select circle of collectors, historians, and former intelligence personnel. Offers began pouring in from private buyers, each more outrageous than the last. The highest came from a European tech billionaire with a penchant for secret codes and rare artifacts, $839 million in a sealed offer, contingent upon exclusive ownership and confidentiality. Elliot was stunned. He hadn't imagined the coin would fetch more than a few thousand at best. But he knew this wasn't just about the money anymore. The coin held secrets, possibly even dangerous ones. Clara urged caution, while Max arranged for secure custody while they made a decision, but fate had a different plan. A break-in at Elliot's house days later confirmed what they feared: someone else knew about the coin. Fortunately, Elliot had placed it in a secure vault at a Denver facility under an alias. Security footage revealed masked individuals, but nothing was taken. It was a warning. The trio decided to go public, holding a press conference and revealing the story behind the coin without disclosing its current location. They shared the details about the micro-engraving, the hidden UV messages, and the history they uncovered. The numismatic world was shocked, and the story made headlines around the globe within weeks. Museums, governments, and private collectors vied for the coin's custody. But Elliot had one condition: it had to be studied, displayed, and never used as a tool of secrecy again. He donated the coin to the Smithsonian under a trust, with the caveat that it remain accessible for public education and historical preservation. But what happened to the $839 million offer? The billionaire donor redirected the funds, not to Elliot directly, but into a foundation in his name dedicated to historical research and preservation of rare artifacts. Elliot lived the rest of his life modestly but fulfilled, knowing he had uncovered something that would shape the future understanding of currency, secrecy, and forgotten history. To this day, the 2013 quarter dollar remains in a protected case at the museum, under rotating UV light displays that reveal its secret engravings to the public every hour on the hour. Schoolchildren visit it. Scholars write about it. Cryptographers marvel at it. And all because one man took the time to look a little closer. But what makes this story even more intriguing is what happened in 2024. A young college student from Virginia named Maya Singh, inspired by Elliot's discovery, started scanning common coins for anomalies. She created an app that used smartphone cameras and AI pattern recognition to detect unusual characteristics in circulating coins. On a cold February morning, Maya found something incredible: a 2014 quarter with similar microetchings, though in a different design and code format. Was this a second prototype? A copycat? Or a hidden sequel in the government's abandoned program? Experts weighed in, but none could reach a conclusion. Maya was thrust into the spotlight, and suddenly, interest in modern coin anomalies surged worldwide. People began checking their pocket change, thrift stores experienced coin rushes, and the numismatic world experienced an unprecedented boom. Coin apps exploded in popularity. Forums dedicated to suspicious patterns, engravings, and designs received millions of hits, and through all of this, the legend of the $839 million coin only grew. Whispers of additional prototypes persisted. Clara received dozens of emails a day from people claiming they had similar coins. Most were false leads, but every now and then, one caused her to pause. One came from a retired janitor in Montana who claimed he was handed a strange quarter at a gas station years ago and locked it in a jar because it felt off. Another was from a widow in Alabama who said her late husband once worked as a machine technician at the Denver Mint and gave her a single quarter, telling her never to spend it. Each lead turned into another breadcrumb and a trail stretching across time and secrecy. Max, now writing a book on the events, described the coin as a relic of an era when silence was currency, and coins were code. He theorized that more such coins were still out there, circulating quietly, waiting for someone with curiosity and the right tools to see them for what they truly are. The idea of modern artifacts being embedded with secret data captivated the public imagination. The 2013 D quarter became more than a valuable coin, it became a symbol of hidden truths and the power of paying attention. And in an era where everything seems digitized and fleeting, the notion that something so analog, so tactile, could hold so much meaning and value struck a deep chord. The Smithsonian launched a full exhibit titled Hidden in Plain Sight, centered on the 2013 D quarter dollar, featuring interactive displays, micro-engraving demonstrations, and live talks by Clara and Max Elliott's journals were digitized and made public, inspiring a new generation of historians and treasure hunters. The final twist? In 2025, Clara received a sealed envelope from an anonymous sender. Last today we dive deep into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in the world of coins, an unassuming 2012 D quarter dollar that turned out to be worth a staggering $382 million. You heard that right. A coin that might have once been given as change for a vending machine snack is now sitting at the pinnacle of collectible wealth. And no, this isn't just about rare metal or pristine condition. This story is far more layered, filled with mystery, a dash of controversy, and a wild trail of ownership that has stunned both collectors and historians alike. It all began in the early fall of 2020, in a sleepy little town nestled on the outskirts of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Retired rail worker Greg Ellison was known in his neighborhood as a casual coin hoarder. Not a professional numismatist by any means, Greg simply had a habit. Anytime he got coins as change, he'd toss them in one of many old Maxwell House coffee tins stacked in his garage. He claimed it was his rainy day treasure, although no one, not even Greg himself, ever took it seriously. One overcast Thursday afternoon, Greg's water heater burst, sending a flood of lukewarm water spilling across his garage floor. Panicked, he scrambled to save anything of value, and that included those rusting coffee tins of coins. As he sloshed through the mess, one of the lids popped off. Coins scattered everywhere, glinting in the fluorescent light, and one in particular caught Greg's eye. It looked unusually sharp, almost luminous despite the grime. He picked it up and wiped it on his flannel shirt. That single act would change his life forever. The quarter bore the D Mint mark, signifying it had been struck in Denver. The design was unmistakable, the 2012 Denali National Park quarter, part of the America the Beautiful series. At first glance, it didn't appear extraordinary. But Greg noticed something odd. The bear on the reverse side had an almost three-dimensional effect. It seemed to move depending on the angle you held it. Even stranger, when he flipped it over, the George Washington profile shimmered subtly, as though it had been etched with a laser. Curious, Greg took it to a local coin shop the next day. The shop owner, Paul Santos, squinted through his magnifying glass, then switched to a jeweler's loupe. After several silent minutes, he looked up at Greg with wide eyes. This isn't normal," Paul said. "You may want to get this authenticated." That was the start of a whirlwind. Greg mailed the coin to the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation for official grading. 2 weeks later, a man in a suit knocked on Greg's front door. He introduced himself as Alan Marquez, a representative from an undisclosed private collector based in Dubai. Alan offered Greg $25,000 on the spot just to hand over the coin for examination for 48 hours. Greg, still reeling from the news that his quarter might be special, agreed. What happened next was unprecedented. The NGC announced publicly that Greg's quarter wasn't just rare, it was one of a kind. Somehow, it had been struck using a test die that was never meant to enter circulation. The die included microscopic engravings, likely part of a security test for anti-counterfeiting technologies. These engravings weren't just decorative, they included laser-etched microtext and even a nearly invisible barcode that, when scanned, revealed encrypted serial data. This alone would have made the coin a collector's dream. But there was more. When scanned with specialized equipment, the coin's barcode corresponded with a digital file that hadn't existed in 2012. The metadata pointed to a date in 2016 and included coordinates that led to a now-defunct U.S. Treasury testing facility in Nevada. Historians and tech experts alike were baffled. How could a 2012 coin contain data from 4 years later? It didn't take long before conspiracy theories erupted. Some believed the coin was evidence of time travel. Others thought it was a secret U.S. government experiment to embed trackable data in currency. A few insisted it was a lost artifact from a covert program to digitize and trace high-value coins for economic simulations. But among the noise, one voice stood out: Dr. Miriam Landis, a former materials engineer who had worked with a defense contractor specializing in currency security. She contacted Greg directly and asked to study the coin. After weeks of negotiation and under high security, she was granted access. What she found was extraordinary. The coin contained layered nanostructures within the metal alloy structures she recognized as experimental prototypes developed during her tenure. They weren't just for security, they were capable of storing data, reacting to temperature, and even altering appearance slightly based on electromagnetic fields. In short, the coin was the closest thing to a smart quarter the world had ever seen. News outlets around the world picked up the story. Greg became an overnight sensation. Offers flooded in. One anonymous bidder reportedly put forward $382 million for the coin, claiming its historical and technological value far exceeds any traditional metric. Greg, shocked but intrigued, accepted. What followed was a deeply secretive transaction. The buyer's identity remains unknown, but sources speculate it was a major tech magnate or foreign sovereign wealth fund. The coin was transported via private jet with military-grade security to a vault in Geneva. And just like that, Greg was a multi-millionaire, but the story didn't end there. In the months that followed, strange developments occurred. Several other 2012 D quarters began surfacing, showing similar but not identical anomalies. A coin in San Diego, another in Portland, and one found in a pawn shop in Atlanta. Each had micro-etchings, though not as complex. None had the time-bending barcode. Experts began speculating that there may have been a short run of prototype coins accidentally released into circulation. The U.S. Mint denied everything. Official statements claimed there was no known release of test coins to the public and dismissed the technology described as speculative fiction. Yet, internal whistleblowers began leaking documents. One anonymous email included a redacted memo titled Project Echo Mintwave Phase 1, which mentioned data-reactive currency testing slated for 2011 to 2013. The plot thickened, documentaries were made. A Netflix series called The Quarter Conspiracy dramatized the story. Greg was portrayed by a well-known Hollywood actor and briefly enjoyed celebrity status. But with fame came danger. His house was broken into twice. He moved, changed his phone number, and eventually disappeared from public life entirely. Today, the 2012 D quarter dollar remains an enigma. Its whereabouts are unknown. Some believe it was dismantled and studied in a black ops lab. Others think it was buried in a cryovault beneath a Swiss mountain. A few die-hard theorists say it's no longer on Earth at all. The collectors continue searching every 2012 D quarter they find, hoping to uncover a second one with the same properties. Coin hunting forums have exploded in popularity. Thousands of people line up at banks requesting coin rolls, eager to find their million-dollar miracle. But none have matched the original. Interestingly, the incident sparked a new wave of coin technology. Today, several mints around the world are experimenting with smart coins embedded with chips and nanostructures, citing the Greg quarter as the inspiration. While the U.S. Mint maintains its stance, whispers suggest they've begun quietly integrating similar tech into future designs, just far more subtly. Meanwhile, Greg's story serves as both legend and caution. He never sought fame or riches. All he did was rescue an old tin of coins from a flooded garage. But in doing so, he cracked open a window into a secret world of mint experiments, shadowy collectors, and the mysterious power of a coin that should never have existed. There's an old saying in numismatics: every coin tells a story. But some stories are more than history, they're prophecy, anomaly, even a bit of magic. And as long as pocket change circulates through our lives, who's to say the next quarter you hand over at a toll booth isn't the next $382 million marvel waiting to be discovered? So keep your eyes open. That clink in your cup holder might just be more than spare change. It might be a key to a story bigger than anyone ever imagined. And if one ordinary guy could turn a dusty garage find into a multi-million-dollar revolution, what's stopping the next incredible chapter from being written by you? Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious and keep hunting.